Today, we're going to be diving into another really big key factor, an anti-inflammatory diet. If you've ever felt sore, fatigued, bloated, struggling with hormonal issues, maybe recovery is just taking way too long, something to consider is that inflammation may be the root of it. But don't worry, I'm going to break everything down, make sure that it's nice and simple, actionable, and also realistic. So let's get into it. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Logically Fit Podcast. If you're new here, I'm one of your hosts, Casey Miller, and this is going to be part 5 of our series on how to balance cortisol, reduce inflammation, and improve your overall health, like your hormonal health, your gut health, your mental health as well. And also, when you start really applying these principles, what I hope you do see, what that a lot of our clients see as well when they start doing this, is that your body and your mind is actually going to start working with you rather than feeling like it's working against you. I feel like a lot of coaches or diets out there don't really address this head on. And that is a problem because there's so many people, especially in today's society today, that does struggle with chronic stress and inflammation. And if we could address this head on, seeing results should feel seamless in comparison to what you probably have seen before. So I hope this really helps you along your way to become the CEO of your health, as we like to say it. Now, if you've been following along, we've already gone over topics like how carbs and also avoiding foods that cause GI issues and inflammation can help with this goal. But today we're going to be diving into another really big key factor, which is implementing an anti-inflammatory diet. So if you've ever felt sore, fatigued, bloated, struggling with hormonal issues, maybe recovery is just taking way too long, something to consider is that inflammation may be the root of it. But don't worry, I'm going to break everything down, make sure that it's nice and simple, actionable, and also realistic. So let's get into it. So before we go into the anti-inflammatory diet, what I do want to go over is what exactly is inflammation. So inflammation is your body's natural response to stress, injury, toxins, or even intense workouts. If you've ever seen that, maybe the weight goes up a little bit on the scale after a really heavy or intense workout that you've done. That's actually a really, really great thing. I know most people are like, I don't want to see that. But in short term, inflammation is a good thing. It helps your body actually heal and recover really well. But it's when it's chronic, when you're dealing with chronic inflammation, the kinds that lingers for weeks, for months, or even years for some people, that can lead to issues like joint pain, muscle soreness, never seeming to go away. You're constantly fatigued or even brain fog, memory loss. You'll start seeing for some people gut issues, gas or indigestion, maybe trouble losing fat or even building muscle tissue. You'll also start seeing hormonal imbalances, including cortisol staying high for too long. So let's go over what causes chronic inflammation. Common things are going to be a not so great diet. Right? You're eating a little bit more on the trash panda side. You're maybe eating a little bit more of sugary snacks, fried foods, refined oils, things like that. Too much stress as well, whether it's physical or mental, the physiological or psychological stress. It doesn't really matter to the body. Stress is stress. And so whether your job is very high demanding, or you don't get good sleep because you have a newborn baby or something like that, or you're somebody that doesn't recover very well, you have been eating really low carb for a long time, you're chronically dieting, or nobody's ever taught you how to eat properly to support your body or train smart so that way you actually can progress. These things can cause a lot of issues that can lead to chronic inflammation. Another thing that a lot of people don't consider is poor gut health. An imbalance of bacteria in the gut can trigger inflammations. Another one is going to be not enough recovery time. So think of overtraining without proper fueling, which actually technically there's no such thing as overtraining. It's under recovering. So if you're somebody that likes to be very active, you do a lot of high intensity workouts, or you're somebody that's really pushing your strength in the gym, or you're doing a half marathon, or you're a hybrid athlete, but you are chronically under fueling yourself, whether it's not eating enough carbs like we talked about in a previous episode, or just not eating enough calories in general to support your activity level. This can cause a lot of inflammation within the body, lack of recovery, muscle breakdown. And long term, we've seen a lot of people who have very lean bodies. They're very athletic, they're very capable. But when you look underneath to the blood work, we've seen a lot of clients coming in and it's just not great. And it's just because they have been chronically under recovering in comparison to how much demand they put in their body in the gym. So how an anti-inflammatory diet really helps, it's The good news is that you really can address this naturally, especially through the food that you eat. You can also have really great habits that can help with this as well that we're going over in this series. But with the food, an anti-inflammatory diet isn't just about restriction, though. I just want to point that out. I know that a lot of people really struggle with all or nothing thinking or being preconditioned by diet culture or previous diets that you have done. Good foods, bad foods, stay away from this and all that stuff. And then social media, people walking through grocery stores yelling that certain foods are going to cause cancer. I don't even know what's going on with the health and fitness industry today on social media. It's getting a little bit ridiculous, but we've been conditioned to think that we need to completely eliminate certain foods, that we need to demonize it, when I want you to think that it's more about biasing things. It's more about leaning in a certain direction that's really going to help properly fuel your body and give you the nutrients it needs, but you're still giving yourself room to be a human and live your life, enjoy the foods that you're eating. So with that being said, let's go over foods that really can help lower inflammation. So the big one that a lot of people probably have already heard of, but it is the omega-3 rich foods. So a lot of people do supplement with things like fish oil, which I think is absolutely amazing. I do it too, but understand that fish oil is a supplement and it will not be as effective as getting it through your own food. Hands down, one of the best ways to improve your health is making sure that your foods are the things that are giving you the nutrients you need and letting supplements fill in the gaps. So some foods that you can consider adding in are like wild caught salmon. You can do sardines, flax seeds, walnuts. They all contain omega-3s, which can help reduce inflammation and also support really great brain function as well. Most people eat way too many omega-6s. In an ideal world, we should be getting a 1-to-1 ratio, but general rule of thumb is 1-to-10. That's more realistic for most people. What most people get within our society today is 25-to-1. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the difference between omega-3s and omega-6s, omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. Omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. Now, I don't want you to start freaking out being like, I cannot eat omega-6s. They're bad, rawr, evil. Let's not go that far. Like I said before, it's not about eliminating it. It's about biasing and balancing, right? So we do want a 1-to-1 ratio. We need omega-6s in our diet to be healthy, but we want to start really leaning more towards omega-3s so we can balance that ratio out. So with that being said, the next thing that you can consider adding into your diet is more antioxidant packed fruits and vegetables. These are going to be like berries, leafy greens, cruciferous veggies, like broccoli and cauliflower too. They are packed with antioxidants, which help fight oxidative stress, which is the root cause of inflammation and also aging too. Think of them as your body's built-in defense system against damage. So the other thing that you can consider as well is like healthier fats. So avocados, olive oil, and like nuts provide monosaturated fats, which isn't necessarily something that you have to remember, but just know that it helps regulate hormones, supports really great brain health, lowers inflammation in the gut as well, unlike oils that you'd probably see in fried food or desserts or things like that. These are going to be more protective rather than inflammatory. The other thing to consider is quality protein. Not all protein is made the same. So with that being said, if you're just starting out and you're on a budget, things like wild caught, grass fed, and all that stuff, those are great. Understand that those are going to move the needle forward just a little bit. All the other things that we're talking about within the series is going to move the needle forward a lot. But if you do have room to do grass fed and wild caught, that's fantastic. That's absolutely amazing, but you don't have to do it to move the needle forward a lot. Some other things that you can consider are free range eggs. I know that they're very expensive right now, but that's another thing that you can grab at if you do have room for that. And then also plant-based proteins can be really helpful, like lentils and quinoa. And these types of protein, whether it's plant-based or eggs or meat or fish or anything like that, this can help repair muscle tissue. It helps stabilize blood sugar. It keeps you fuller longer as well, which helps you stay leaner. And protein is essential for recovery, which we're talking about. Recovery is a big part, but the big thing is quality does matter. Factory farmed meats can contain some inflammatory compounds. Again, it's not something you need to freak out about, but just consider it as something that you could potentially grab if you can. The other thing to consider is protein powder. I think that protein powder is an absolute amazing supplement if you need that to support getting your protein intake. But not all protein powders are made the same as well. So make sure that you're paying attention to the types of protein powder that you're using. Are they third-party tested? Are they clinically dosed? Are they completely transparent about what's in their product on the labels? Do they provide research behind it that supports why they put what they put in there and at the amounts? So those are big things that you want to make sure that you're double checking in supplements, because the supplement world is a wild, wild west. I actually briefly worked in the supplement industry for a while, and I had to leave just because it was just, there's some things in the back end that people don't know about, and it's not regulated. It's pretty sleazy sometimes. So making sure that you're getting a trustworthy supplement from a trustworthy company is absolutely imperative. Otherwise, if you are taking in protein supplements that are not working well for your body, you can actually cause more digestive issues and inflammation in the long run. So that's why I trust Legion. They check all the boxes. They're completely transparent. They're trustworthy. They're clinically dosed. So what they put in the label is not only going to be in the product, but it's actually going to be effective as you take it. So those are big things that we always do with Legion as well. So the other thing is going to make sure that you are leaning more towards gut-friendly foods as well. So think of like fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, and Greek yogurt to help balance out your gut microbiome, which plays absolute huge role in inflammation and digestion and even mental health. What a lot of people don't know is that your digestive system is directly connected to your brain through the largest nerve in your body, which is called the vagus nerve. And your digestive system has its own nervous system as well. So if your gut health is not too great, your mental health is not going to be great either. You'll see people dealing with more brain fog, decision fatigue. They start exacerbating things. It can affect your mood. It can affect a lot of different things. So remember that a healthy gut is a healthier body and also mind too. So here are some things that you want to start minimizing in an anti-inflammatory diet. So think of things that are very simple carbohydrates or quote unquote processed carbs. I'm not a huge fan of the word processed, just because you take a vegetable and you chop it in half and technically that is processed. You put food in a smoothie and technically that's processed. So I think that we've taken that word to a little whole nother level. But with that being said, that's what most people understand when I'm speaking about this. I want to just speak how you guys understand. These types of carbohydrates can spike blood sugar, insulin resistance, and also trigger inflammation when eaten in excess. If you eat these foods before your workout, that will actually be really beneficial to help make sure that you have a bunch of quick energy through your workout. But if you're continuously eating outside of your workout and you're not using it with purpose, this can cause long-term issues, right? So we want to make sure that we're minimizing those. Using it with purpose right before our workouts is a great one. If you don't want to use it before your workouts, just any type of carbohydrate that sits well with your stomach is going to be great as well. So highly processed vegetable oils is also another one. This can promote inflammation when out of balance with omega-3s. Now, again, I don't want you to demonize this. There's a lot of research that shows that there's really not a ton of information out there that definitively is like, this is evil, never eat it. But I think reducing it a little bit could be really beneficial for you, right? The other thing that I want to talk about is excess alcohol. This is a big one. While in moderation, alcohol can be fine, but too much damages the gut lining, increases inflammation, and also disrupts sleep and also hormonal imbalances. So if you're dealing with chronic inflammation, reducing alcohol can make a huge difference. And if you're somebody that really is struggling with hormonal imbalances, gut issues, chronic stress, I would highly suggest completely cutting out or eliminating alcohol altogether, just to see if that can fast track your results, or even if it's even worth it to you to drink alcohol. I know that there's a huge uptake in people that are really going alcohol free. And there's even beverages out there that they just put a bunch of adaptogens in there that help you feel that light social feeling that a lot of people want from an alcohol beverage without the negative side effects of alcohol. So if that is something that you are open to try, I highly suggest it. I know in my hormonal journey, I really did just completely cut out alcohol majority of the time, just because it wasn't worth it to me. I was tired of feeling the way that I was feeling. I knew for a fact that it would go a lot faster without alcohol. The more that I did it, the more that I realized that I really didn't need alcohol. It wasn't really an important part of my life. If anything, it made me feel worse and took more out of my life than actually added back in. So that's something to consider as well. But a big thing that I want to go over is moderation over extremes. Okay. Now let's talk about like the super, super important part of this is that it is moderation. We're not eliminating completely unless it's something that is something that you're allergic to, causes you to poop your pants, maybe causes a lot of inflammation, digestive issues that's affecting your everyday life. Like it's not about extreme thinking. It is about moderation. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. And again, it's because we've been conditioned from diet culture to think that it is all or nothing thinking. There's good foods and bad foods. But what I want to encourage you to do is think about leaning towards foods that make you feel good and support your goals, but still leaving room for foods to help you live your best life. And how much you follow this approach is entirely up to you. Moderation looks different for everybody. I know for Calvin, my boyfriend, moderation, he can be a little bit more loose with his food. He's about like 70 to 80%. He still is really on point with his calories and his goals, and his protein intake and his fiber, but like he can have a little bit more food and a little bit more fun than I can. Somebody that comes from chronic inflammation, a lot of hormonal issues, my approach is more of a 90 to 95% of the time. I follow an anti-inflammatory diet, and I have certain foods that I really won't touch because it makes me look pregnant because I'm so bloated, or like my stomach hurts so bad that I can't take it. It's just not worth it for me. But that's what works for me. And Calvin worked really hard to figure out what works best for him. So the only foods that you really should completely eliminate, again, are the things that you're sensitive, intolerant to, or have an allergy to. If you're constantly eating foods that your body doesn't tolerate, it can cause some serious inflammation and impact everything from your digestion, your mental health, and your hormones, your skin, and your hair. But again, this is supposed to be a tool to help you live your best life, not be your life, not make you feel like you're trapped in a prison. So make sure that you're really figuring out what moderation looks like for you, doing some trial and error to see what is something that you can be very consistent at, what allows you to still live your life, but you also are still honoring your body and giving it what it needs to thrive. Okay. So let's go over how to apply this in your everyday life. If you want to start lowering inflammation today, here's a simple game plan that I want you to start following. So the first is focus on adding before you subtract. The immediate first thing that people are going to do is straight up start eliminating all the things and start freaking out about the foods that they're eating. Please, please don't. Just start with adding before subtracting. Instead of stressing out about cutting out certain foods, focusing on adding the anti-inflammatory foods that we spoke about, more greens, more healthy fats, more lean proteins, more whole foods, right? The second thing that I also want you to do is focus on balancing out your plate as well. Every meal that you eat should have some type of lean protein, healthy fats, lots and lots of fiber, and quality carbs, something like quinoa, oats, sweet potatoes. Fruit is also another really good one. This is going to help regulate blood sugar, keep it stable, and inflammation low as well. The other one that a lot of people don't realize that really does affect inflammation is also staying hydrated and support really great digestive health. So drinking plenty of water, adding foods in there like bone broth or ginger tea that can help soothe the gut and reduce inflammation too. But I also want you to make sure that you're listening to your body. If certain foods make you feel bloated, sluggish, or foggy, take note. Do something about it. Your body will tell you what works and what doesn't. You just got to pay attention to it, okay? So the big takeaways that I want you to pay attention to are an anti-inflammatory diet isn't about extreme restriction. Please, please, please remember that it's about eating in the way that supports your body's ability to heal, recover, and also thrive everyday life in and out of the gym. When you focus on whole nutrient-dense foods, your body naturally starts to lower inflammation, balance hormones, and function better overall. And the exciting part is that in the next episode, we're actually going to be diving even deeper into how to regulate your blood sugar. I've mentioned this multiple times that how blood sugar has such a huge part in this. So we're going to be diving into that as well. If this episode helped you, make sure to subscribe, share it with somebody that could benefit. And if you want more practical evidence-based tips on training, nutrition, stress management, you can follow me on Instagram at ThrivingOnKC, and it's just the letters K and a C. And it's also the same handle on TikTok. We also have our free community, Facebook group community, which I dropped the link below in the description. We are going to be sharing a lot of food tips, meal prep tips, but we also share free workouts in there too. You can ask questions, get support from a community. It's an awesome place to be. Feel free to join. And big picture is make sure that you're staying strong, staying informed, and then also make sure that you are taking care of you, your body, your mind, everything, because you deserve it. That's self-respect. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next episode.